All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to this video series, which is all about solving APCSA FRQs. My goal, as I say in each video, is to do every single FRQ from this year. Wait, okay, this year's 2024. Haven't had the AP exam yet, but like basically all FRQs that have been posted from 2022, that's the last one that's posted on College Board, all the way to 2012. Whew, so that is a lot of FRQs, about 40, basically the last 10 years, and I'm going through and I'm going to try to solve them. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into this FRQ. This one I actually have seen before, but I just want you to see how I break down these problems. I'm going to give myself about 22 minutes, and I'm going to jump in. All right. So first off, it gives me about this class. All right, single table, and it represents a table at a restaurant. Okay. And this single table class has a couple of methods: get number of seats, get num seats, get height. They both return integers. Get view quality, which returns a double, and set view quality, which takes in a double and doesn't return anything. It's void. Okay. So I'm going to keep that in mind. If they've given me these methods, I am going to have to use them in my solution. So let's go ahead and take a look. At the restaurant, customers can sit at tables that are composed of two single tables pushed together. The example that I gave to my lovely students was that, like, if you go to IHOP and it's like, I don't know, the day after Thanksgiving or the day before Christmas, and you've got like 10 family members and they've got only these like small little tables where like 4 people can sit at the table, then the waiters and waitresses might go ahead and just like smash the tables together. Not smash, they'll gently like push them together, slide them together, and then you can have like a combined table. Okay, so with that as your basis, let's continue. So it says you will write a class combined table to represent the result of combining two single table objects based on the following rules in the examples in the chart that follows. A combined table can seat a number of customers that is two fewer than the total number of seats in the two single table objects to account for seats lost when the tables are pushed together. Okay, so if you're imagining you've got two tables, right? Here, maybe if I can just look up a picture of two tables. Tables pushed together. Okay, hopefully I don't get any like weird internet memes here. Okay, let's see if I can give this example here. Right, okay. Right. Okay, look. So like here we've got these cute little two round tables here, right? And notice here that like normally this table might seat about like 4 or 5 people. But what happens, let's say it seats about 5 people, right? But when you push them together, that means that the person who would normally sit right here, they can't sit there. And the person who would normally sit right here on the other table, they can't sit there. So we lose 2 seats. Okay, so again, that's some context here as we go through this problem. Anyway, okay. Obviously, you won't be able to look up anything on Google when you're taking the AP exam, but I just wanted to give you that context here for the problem. So, all right. So a combined table has a desirability. Okay, so as I'm going through this, right, I know that a class is normally going to have these 3 components, right? Hold on. Did it say I'm going to write this combined table class? I'm pretty sure it's going to make me write combined table, but let me just go ahead. Write the complete combined table class. Yeah, okay, yeah. So I have to write this class. So public class combined table, that's the first thing I'm going to write, and that's usually once I do this and then write the header of the constructor, that's going to go ahead and give me my first this is going to go ahead and give me my very first point. Right. I'm going to go ahead and just write the shell, because even before I go any further, I know that the class's FRQ is always going to have some basic components. I'm going to have my instance variables, I'm going to have my constructor, I'm going to have my methods. And so as I go through and I look at this, as I break down this prompt, I'm going to be looking for anything that's an indication of instance variables, constructors, or methods. Okay, so let me go back. It says a combined table can seat a number of customers that is two fewer than the total number of seats in the two. So already I'm kind of thinking, okay, maybe a combined table, I need to, maybe it's going to have a number of seats instance variable. So I might even just go ahead and do that for right now. Private int num seats. I might not need this, and if I don't need it, I can just delete it at the end, but I'm just keeping track of any, like, I'm keeping track of any information that this class is keeping track of, because that might be helpful to help me solve this. A combined table has a desirability. Okay, so what is a desirability? That depends, like what data type is that? That depends on the views and the heights of the two single tables. If the two single tables of a combined table object are the same height, the desirability of the combined table object is the average of the view qualities of the two single tables. Okay, so I don't really know, like, I think there's gonna be this, like, desirability instance variable, but I don't know what data type that's gonna be. Like, is that a string? Is that an int? Is it a double? Whatever it is. Okay, if the two single tables of a combined table object are not the same height, okay, so maybe I need to keep track of the height, but I don't know if that's something. Okay, yeah, the single table keeps track of the height, so I don't think I need to, like, explicitly make another instance variable for that in the combined table object class. Okay, combined table objects, if they're not the same height, the desirability of the combined table is 10 units or less. And when I see this if, this is like a little flag to me. I'm going to need a conditional statement. The desirability of the combined table object is 10 units less than the average of the view qualities of the two single tables. Okay, so I hear, so a couple of, like, flags to me. I hear view quality, and I know up here there's a method called get view quality, so that's probably going to help me out. Not the same height. I know that there is a method called get height, so that's probably going to help me. Number of seats. Okay, so I know that this num seats method is going to help me out, so I'm going to need to use some single table objects. And again, the height, that is coming up here, so I'm going to go ahead and need to get the height. And right, okay. I haven't quite figured out about this, the set view quality yet, but I'll get there. Okay, so now, woohoo! So now, all right, so now it's giving me an example of, like, interacting with this class. First off, I'm going to jump to this first line here where it creates a combined table object, and I'm going to take note of the two input values for this constructor for combined table, T1 and T2. Okay, so it's going to take in two parameters for the constructor. The constructor is going to have two parameters, but let me figure out what data type they are. A combined table is composed of two single table objects. Okay, so, right. Okay, so now I know, and okay, also it says here T1 and T2 are single table objects. Right. So, okay, I know that I can go ahead and add some other instance variables. I don't know for sure if I need these ones, but I'm going to keep them for right now. I'm going to say private single table, and I'm just going to call it table1. Not to be confused with T1. T1 is the actual instance of the class, and table1 is just the name of the instance variable, right? So this is more of a generic name representing any table that we use as input for combined table. And the same thing here, this is a generic name, you'll see here in a moment. This is also going to be a generic name representing any table that we use as the second table for a combined table object. In the class, when you see T1 and T2, those are examples of those are the names of specific single tables that have been created. And table 1 and table 2 are, like, again, the generic name for the variable that holds the table that I'm using as input to the class. Whew, okay, that was a lot. So now I'm going to go ahead and write my constructor based off of this pattern that I see right here, right? I know that my constructors, at least for APCSA, are public. So I'm going to say public, and then I always follow with the name of the class. Combined table is the name of the class. And then I'm going to say single table, and I can call it table 1. And I'm going to say single table, and I'm going to call it table 2. Now notice here that I made the names of my constructor, the names of my instance variables, exactly the same name as my parameters. So that means in order to differentiate between the parameter and the instance variable and the parameter, I'm gonna have to say this dot table one, which always refers to the instance variable. This dot table one gets table one. So that means set the instance variable to point to the same object as the table one parameter. And this dot table two gets table two, which means set the instance variable table two to point to the same object as the parameter is pointing to. Great. Okay, so right, and I don't really know if I need this num seats yet. I really don't know if I need that. So what I'm gonna do is, for now, I am going to. I'm gonna, not to be funny, but I'm going to table these for a moment here, and I'm gonna just delete them. I'm not really sure if I need them. I can't really think of a reason for needing them. Like, I know, like, num seeds. Yeah, I'm gonna just strike them out for right now. I might need them later on. Let me just do a little strike through here. Text. You're not gonna be able to do this on the exam in terms of like strike through like I'm doing, but I don't have paper to show you, so this is what I'm gonna do right now. So I've got the table one. I've got table two. Okay, what comes next? All right, so I've got my constructor. Okay, now I've got to write my methods. Now, again, I can get some easy points, but just by paying attention to the headers of my methods. Can seat is one method that we're using with a combined table object. C2 is a combined table object, right? Can seat is a method. It returns true, which is a boolean, and it takes in an int as a parameter. So I'm going to go ahead and just write my header. Public boolean, because it returns a boolean, can seat, and it takes in an int as a parameter. And what does that int represent? Let's find a good name for it, for good programming practices. It says since its two single tables have a total of 20 seats, C2 can seat 18 or fewer people. Okay, so this is the number of seats. Num seats. Okay. So far, okay, so I'm gonna need to figure out what I need to put on the inside of this, but that's what I've got so far. Okay, so now let's see if there's any other methods. Get desirability. Do I have to write this method? I would think I would need to write this method, but hold on. Do I need to write this method? I do, because there's no get desirability method that's already written. Right, I need to write that method. Also, even though combined table and single table are like related, we can't say that they have like any sort of like inheritance relationship. So I can't be like, oh, get desirability is already written in the like child class, and so I can just call this method. No, like these are two separate classes. They're similar, but they're separate. Okay. Right, so I'm going to need to write this get desirability method, which has takes in no input, so that means no parameters, and it returns a double. So I'm going to say, okay, public double. Okay, double get desirability. Okay, done. Okay, good. Okay, any other methods that I need to write? Let me see. Set view quality. Okay, and I noticed that set view quality is being called on a T2 object on T2, and T2 is a single table object, and single table has a set view quality method. So that's already done. Okay, that's done. Okay, so I guess I don't need to write that. All right, so it says, just to make sure I read this part, the last line of the chart illustrates that when the characteristics of a single table change, so do those of the combined table that contains it. Okay, all right. So it says, write the complete combined table class. Your implementation must meet all specifications and conform to the example shown in the preceding chart. Okay, so what I'm going to try to do is blast through, take like 5 minutes, write the solution, and give myself sense of what's happening here. Now, it did give me this blah, 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 blah information up here at the top that I read, but I didn't really grasp. So I'm going to have to read it again. It says, a combined table can see a number of customers that is two fewer. Okay, so now this is sounding like a math class or some sort of like algebra. Two fewer than the total number of seats in its two single table objects. Okay, so let's unpack that. Really, what I need to do is I need to figure out how many seats are in table 1. So I'm going to say table 1, and there was a method, because it can't access instance variables directly. Like, I can't just say, like, table 1 dot seats. That's not going to work because I'm not within the single table class, so I can't refer to the instance variables directly. So I'm going to have to say get, what's the method? I'm going to use my getter method, get num seats. So I'm going to say table 1 dot get num seats, just like this. Okay, and then I also need to figure out the number of seats that are in table 2. So I'm going to say int seats 2, and I'm going to say table 2 dot get num seats. Okay, so that's done. Okay, so I'm kind of just like processing, like as I get an understanding of what's happening, I just like take some time and I just jot down like what my initial thoughts are. If I'm wrong, I can always delete and cross out, but I'm just kind of writing down my thoughts as I go through. Okay, a combined table can see a number of customers that is two fewer than the total. So total indicates I'm going to have to do some sort of addition. So, okay, so let's do something like this. Int total. And, I didn't do my trick here. This is returning a Boolean. So I can go ahead and say Boolean result gets false, return result. What I'd like to do is, so that I don't forget to return the right value, I like to just go ahead and create a variable that stores my return value at the very beginning, and then just edit it as I go along. So if I'm doing the total, then that means I'm going to have to do some adding. So I'm going to say seats 1 plus seats 2. And then it said 2 fewer than the total. So I don't think I need to put these parentheses. Actually, I don't, because of, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, so I would do the plussing first and then the minusing. But it just helps me to just organize my thoughts. So I need to add those two together, and then I'm going to subtract by 2. Because remember, this example that we saw here with the tables that are pushed together, like when we push them together, we're going to lose this seat that's right here at the edge and this seat that's right here at the edge. So we go through and we do it. Okay, good. Now, right. So, okay, so, right. So what we're doing here is it can see a number of customers that is 2 fewer than the total number of seats in its 2 objects to account for seats lost when the tables are pushed together. Great. Okay, so basically, I'm going to return true if the number of seats that is needed is, let me see if my logic is right. If num seats is less than or equal to total, then I can go ahead. Wait, I just made a mistake. I just said return false. I didn't even mean to say return false. I meant to say return result, because my result may not be false in the end. Okay, so glad I caught that mistake here. So if the number of seats, like the number of seats is like basically the amount of people we're trying to get at this table. If the number of seats is less than or equal than the total, at least that's my understanding of what num seats represents. If the number of seats is less than or equal to the total, I'm going to go ahead and change my result to be true. But if it's not less than or equal to the total, then this part is going to be skipped, and I can return the result, which is still false. Okay, great. So that looks good. And now, I'm running out of time here. I think I have wait, when did I start? I'll say that I started at 1 minute in, so I've got 3.5 minutes. Okay, so let me end the class. End class. Okay, done. Okay, sorry. 3 minutes, 10 seconds. Okay, now I gotta get the desirability, and I forgot this little bracket right there. Here. Wait, do I need that? No, I don't need that. Okay, sorry. Okay, keep going. Something doesn't look right here. Maybe it's because these brackets are, this parentheses is empty. But yeah, I think that should be fine. Okay, now, public double get desirability. Okay, so now I've got to go back here. It's a double, so I'm going to say double result gets 0.0. I'm going to set it to a default value. Maybe that won't work, but I can change it. But 9 times out of 10, it seems like giving it a default value does work. Okay. 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 If the two single tables of a combined table object are the same height, so I'm going to need to use get height, the desirability of the combined table object is the average of the view qualities of the two single tables. If they're not the same height, the desirability is 10 units less than the average. Okay. Okay, so first off, I'm going to go ahead and find out what the average of the heights is, because that seems to come up in both parts. I'm going to say like double average gets table 1 dot get height plus table 2 dot get height divided by 2. Now I'm doing less explaining, just writing here, because I'm going to run out of time. I'm not going to run out of time. Lord willing, I'm not going to run out of time. I'm going to just go quickly. Okay. Basically, what I'm going to say, I've got about a minute, is, okay, let's go back. So if their heights are the same, so let's see, if table 1 dot get height is equal to table 2 dot get height, okay, then what do I return? I'm going to return, well, I'm going to say result is, let's see, 45 seconds. Oh, result is average. Woo! Otherwise, so if they're the same height, if they are not the same height, the desirability is 10 units less than the average of the view qualities of the two tables. Wait, I did the wrong average. I don't need the average of the height. I need the average of the view qualities. I'm running out of time. Get view quality time else return result gets average. I ran out of time. Well, technically, I would have 30 extra seconds. Average minus 10. Whew. Okay. Okay. So that was hard. I did a lot of talking, so I wasted a lot of my time. But right. Okay. I don't even know if this. Okay. Yeah. So I had to quickly do that. Right. Explaining as I go along, so that takes some time. Right. Technically, for each individual question, you have about 2 minutes and 22 minutes and 30 seconds. But I like to give myself 22 minutes. Right. Right. Okay. So I didn't have any time to check my work. You can see that I'm often struggling to have enough time to check my work. That could also be because I'm explaining as I go through. But yeah, I think this works. Right. In another video, I'll probably try to follow up and be like, okay, did my solution actually work? Yeah, I ended up not even needing these instance variables, so I can delete them. be able to do this on the AP exam, but I'm kind of just like giving you like some tips about like if you had more time than me, because again I'm doing a lot of explaining, then you would go back and you would check and be like, oh, okay, did my can seat method work? Like for instance, if my two single table objects have a total of 12 seats, should 9 return true? Yes, because that means that my combined table can seat 10 people. Is 9 less than or equal to 10? Yes, so my result would be true. And then for the other example, it's like, okay, um, right, if I use a number of 11, and my total number, if I'm trying to see 11 people, and my total number is 10, this is actually going to end up returning false, or this is going to, yeah, this is going to return false, and that means that this if statement is going to be ignored, and then my result is still going to be false. It's not going to have changed here, which is good. And then for the desirability, I would go through and I would check this as well. And when I do get desirability, did I return a double? Yeah, I did. Okay. So I would go through and I would say, okay, um, what does it say as an example? It says this returns with C1, it returns 6.5, sorry, 65.0, and that's because the two single tables have the same height. In this example, let me see, T1 and T2, yep, they have a height of 74 centimeters, so we would take the average of the view qualities. 60 plus 70 is 130, and when you divide that by 2, you get 65.0 because we're working with doubles. Great, so it looks like mine would work, right, because I take the average of the two view qualities divided by 2, and because these two tables, T1 and T2 in the example, have the same exact height, they have the same height, I would jump down to this section here, and it would return, the result would become this average, and then we return the average, which is exactly what we want, which is 65.0, but in this other case, where the tables are not the same height here for this example here, one has a height of 74, one has a height of 75, we take the average of these two, which would be like, sorry, I'm trying to do the math in my mind. Oh, we take the average of the view qualities, not of the heights. So it would be like 135.0 divided by 2 minus 10, which would be something like, I'm trying to do the math in my mind. I'm struggling here. There's no calculator on the AP exam, so I would just have to go with my gut. And I think I've done my math correctly. It's the average minus 2, sorry, minus 10. So I return that. So it looks like this is good. Whew. Okay, so that's my solution. Obviously, that took me a little bit more time. Keep in mind that, like, if you feel like you're running out of time on the AP exam, you can make the executive choice that maybe you're going to skip one FRQ and focus more on one that you know you can get the points on, but you just need to make that choice. Okay, that's it.